Good evening. Coming up tonight, a former Bahamas Power and Light director is refuting he was fired from the company recently. And good news coming out of Grand Bahama, a distillery is not only making good booze, but with a totally Bahamian twist. And introducing Sheryl Crow. Well, to Atlantis, that is. Our Gene Joseph enjoyed the Crow concert last night. Details are locked and loaded, coming just for you. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Marlena Leonard. Topping news tonight, in our Friday evening's newscast, we reported that 3 directors at Bahamas Power and Light were fired by the company. Since then, Andrew Darville, one of the 3 directors mentioned, is refuting that he was fired. The former director of energy supply is saying he is retiring from BPL. When we posed the question about the firings at BPL, chairman of the board, Pedro Roll, did not refute that the men were fired. Let's take a listen.
These are internal matters when we determine exactly what's best for BPL. We make it, and these are decisions that we are making every single day. As we attempt to make BPL more nimble, more efficient, so that your bill doesn't go up, we make these decisions from time to time. So in the cases that you were talking about, in these 3 cases, they were all in an attempt to make us more efficient, right? To ensure that we can service the public in a better way.
And good news for Grand Bahamians shared at a cocktail reception of a new Grand Bahamian business, the Bahamas Distilling Company. This coming from Grand Bahama Port Authority's Chief Investment Officer, Derek Newbold.
Based on the hard work, the dedication of the Grand Bahama team, as well as the government, we now have well in excess of $1 billion worth of new investments earmarked for Freeport.
And according to Newbold, when one of these projects is complete, Grand Bahama will take over a world ranking.
We have the Grand Bahama Shipyard that's now in the process of looking at reinvesting $350 million into that facility, where we'll have new dry docks come in, and after that acquisition, that particular facility will become the largest ship repair facility, dry dock facility in the world.
Shakespeare in Paradise wrapped its 14th festival this weekend, but not before having a very special guest in the audience. Prime Minister Philip Davis attended the musical First Comes Morning and even ventured backstage to the green room to congratulate cast and crew on a play he said reminded him of his Cat Island upbringing. While backstage, the Prime Minister said he had a wonderful night watching Shakespeare in Paradise 2022, First Comes Morning. He said the play reminded him of growing up on Cat Island, and he said his administration is going to support the growth of the creative economy and will match the efforts of this country's talented people. Just after the break, a mysterious explosion in Russia sending a portion of the Kerch Bridge into splinters. Are Ukrainians to blame? Stay close for the answer. And October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have another survivor story. That's coming up when Our News Weekend Edition returns. You're watching Our News. Welcome back. President Vladimir Putin turned 70 last week amid exaggerated and outlandish measures of congratulations from subordinates and a plea from Orthodox Patriarch Kirill for all to pray for the health of the longest-serving paramount leader of Russia since Joseph Stalin. Putin is facing the biggest challenge of his rule after the invasion of Ukraine triggered the gravest confrontation with the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. His army there is reeling from a series of defeats in the past month. Russian officials hailed Putin as the savior of modern Russia, while the Patriarch of Moscow and all Russia implored the country to say 2 days of special prayers so that God grants Putin health and longevity. A mysterious explosion consumed 2 sections of the only bridge linking the occupied Crimean Peninsula to Russia on Saturday, disrupting the most important supply line for Russian troops fighting in southern Ukraine and dealing a shameful blow to the Kremlin, which is facing continued losses on the battlefield and mounting criticism at home. The blast sent part of the 12-mile Kerch Bridge toppling into the sea, killing at least 3 people, according to Russian authorities, who said a Ukrainian truck bomb had caused the blast. The Ukrainian government, which applauded the damage, did not publicly take responsibility for the explosion. One senior Ukrainian official, speaking on condition of anonymity because of a ban on officials discussing the matter, said the Ukraine's intelligence services had orchestrated the attack and that it involved a bomb loaded onto a truck that drove across the bridge. If this is so, this is a big move from the Ukrainians indeed. No ocular proof has been provided for this as yet. When Our News comes back from the break, we're going to take a trip down to Grand Bahama to see what's happening with a brewery down there. Good things, apparently. Code name Gin. And introducing Sheryl Crow. We have the details when Our News Weekend Edition returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. Grand Bahamians got to taste a selection of spirits from the new Bahamas Distilling Company at their cocktail reception this weekend. We caught up with the co-owners of the company to discuss their plans both here at home and how they plan to take Bahamian spirits to the world.
Right now we have just a few people working for us. Our goal is to build to probably 15, 20 people in the next 12 months, and then hopefully grow it from there. You know, we'd like to take Bahamian products with made in Bahamas on it, and take it to a global audience.
And the Bahamas Distilling Company won't stop with rum. The founder unveiled the plans to add a Bahamian gin to their product lineup, inspired by the country's love for gully wash, also known as sky juice. Bassett's brother and distillery co-owner, Gareth Bassett, tells us just how Bahamian the gin will be.
We're using a lot of botanicals from the island. I've been lucky enough, one of our very first workers at the distillery, by the name of Hubert Roll, he's quite knowledgeable on local plants and their uses, and has taught me about love wine and five finger, and he makes a concoction using that, so I thought why not incorporate that into our gins.
He says the inclusion of the local plants takes the made in Bahamas meaning to a whole new level of authenticity.
What I really love about it is not only is it made in the Bahamas, but it actually has a little bit of the Bahamas in it, which to me is so exciting. Every time you have a sip, you're having a sip of plants that we've sourced from around the distillery and from the island.
And Alan Bassett promises while the company grows, the focus will be on Bahamian hires.
Our goal is to staff this entirely with local Bahamians. Obviously, some of the skills required for rum distillation are very specific. Distilling spirits is as much an art as it is a science. So absolutely, our goal is going to be to bring people in from the ground, from day one, and grow them into positions as master distiller, as marketing, as promotions, and every position that a big company like this needs.
Felicity Johnson is a breast cancer survivor who beat the odds. Despite not having early detection on her side, she's with us 5 years later to share her story. She shares what she feels helped her beyond the doctors. Sometimes community is part of the cure.
I wasn't surprised once a pain alerted me and woke me up one night to the fact that something was wrong. You know, you always know when there's pain and then there's that pain that, I got to go to the doctor. My cancer was not detected early. I was regarded as high risk. I had to be monitored very carefully. I was poked and prodded beyond belief.
Felicity Johnson says she took the diagnosis with a pragmatic attitude, and when friends suggested she consider leaving her job as general counsel at Cable Bahamas.
I had friends who said, oh, you better quit that job. It's the stress of that job and so on. And I mentioned that to my oncologist, and his thing was, don't you dare quit that job. Don't you dare. All the studies show that persons who are working, who have something else to focus on whilst they're doing their treatment, do far better. There were days when I struggled to get to work, but I knew that once I got here, the energy on the job would get me through. And sure enough, you walk in and you just swing into work mode and you forget that you're not feeling well, that you're struggling or whatever.
And the survivor's advice to those with friends and loved ones with cancer is simple. Be there for them.
I was also very fortunate, and I urge everyone who has a friend or relative with cancer, be there for them. My family, my sisters, and my friends were there for me. There were times when, there were other women in there and they were so frightened, and I thought, gosh, why isn't someone with them? Why isn't someone here just to hold their hand and make it, make the load easier?
And if you're currently grappling with a diagnosis or undergoing cancer treatment, Johnson says mindset is everything, even if that means being selective with the information you burden yourself with.
I urge positivity, and positivity means if they are telling you something and you can't deal with it, block it out. Block it out. Just tell me what I need to do. And that's important. Don't force yourself to take on information that your brain is not ready to absorb, and that your mind and your spirit will just go down, into a depression from it.
But most importantly, the reminder of the progress in breast cancer treatment.
I'm grateful to be here today to talk about it and to encourage others that, you can get through this. The advances made in breast cancer, even in the last 5 years, since I was first diagnosed, are amazing. It's not necessarily.
Tomorrow is National Heroes Day. Let's hope for sunshine and cool breezes. The weather report is on the way when Our News Weekend Edition returns. And the return of the Regency Theater is also on the way right after this break. Stay close. Welcome back to Our News. Atlantis' Imperial Ballroom was abuzz with residents and tourists alike flocking to see country singer Sheryl Crow and her band, the resort's latest installment in its Music Making Waves concert series, the largest outdoor concert since the beginning of the COVID crisis. Join our Jean Joseph for a bird's eye view of the concert. Enjoy.
Nearly 1,500 people flocked to see Sheryl Crow's performance in Atlantis' Imperial Ballroom, fans finally getting their chance to see the 9-time Grammy Award-winning artist after COVID-19 forced the show's postponement. Concertgoers were treated to an opening performance by Ali Akoli before Crow and crew took over, covering the audience in waves of emotion as they belted out song after song. Those familiar with Crow sang along and eventually lined the stage to dance and sing with her until she and her band left the stage, only to return for an encore performance, much to the audience's delight. Mario Carey, CEO of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, was one of many residents taking in the show, thankful for the opportunity to take in a big-ticket act like Sheryl Crow locally.
What an amazing performance. Having a live performance of this caliber, you got to enjoy that. That's just a lot of fun. We're blessed to have that.
Carey says the event was refreshing, and he looks forward to more Music Making Waves concerts.
I think a lot of people are so pleased that we can actually be out in a live event amongst friends and colleagues and not having to wear masks, and it's just a breath of fresh air.
Susan Warren, an executive at Bahamian Brewery and Beverages who grew up in America, says the concert was all that she expected and more.
Well, what I love is that we all came together. I'm seeing people I haven't seen in a long time, and it was a wonderful show. She is a great performer. She is a great artist. She was everything. She did a very good job tonight, and everyone had a really good time.
Audrey Oswell, Atlanta's president and managing director, says it's a good feeling to have put on this latest installment of the Music Making Waves series.
It's nice to be able to bring concerts and large events back to the Bahamas and see so many people enjoy them and just have a great time enjoying the music. You see people dancing in the aisles, and it just feels good to be able to bring that back to Bahamas and to Paradise Island.
The Music Making Waves brand not only brings top artists to our shores, but it also benefits the Blue Project Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to protecting Bahamian marine life and their habitats. Oswald says there are big plans on the horizon for the brand to wrap up the year and take us well into 2023.
We have a couple surprise entertainers. On January 1st, we just announced the Chainsmokers. On December 31st for New Year's Eve, we have Party Like a Royal and a surprise entertainer that I can't reveal at this point. But I think everybody will be excited and surprised to hear who it is. And we will announce our lineup for 2023 probably at the end of December.
With a variety of top-tier acts planned, there's sure to be an opportunity for you to enjoy a concert at Atlantis and support the Blue Project Foundation's cause. Reporting for Our News, Arts and Entertainment, I'm Gene Joseph.
Still overcast today. Let's see how weather is shaping up for the remainder of your holiday weekend. Years after Hurricane Dorian destroyed the interior of Grand Bahama's beloved Regency Theater, the Freeport Players Guild is ready to open the Reds once again. In tonight's report, we'll take a look at where they've come from and what's next for Grand Bahama's most prolific talent incubator.
The art community is as resilient as Grand Bahama. No matter what happens, we will thrive, we will rise, and the show must go on.
The return of the Regency Theater is a story of Grand Bahamian resilience. Freeport Players Guild President Preston Knowles tells the guests of this year's Versailles-themed annual President's Party about the devastation of Dorian.
It's been a long 3 years. Of course, everyone's familiar with what took place with Hurricane Dorian. And we would have essentially lost everything here, from props, from equipment, infrastructure, the stage, everything that we need to be an operational theater and performing arts group.
Shortly after the catastrophic hurricane passed, the Guild posted a call for help in cleaning the storm-swept theater, and the community certainly showed up. The theater has received support from private donors, as well as approximately $60,000 worth of donations from the Grand Bahama Port Authority and a $50,000 donation from FTX earlier this year. And now the theater is ready to make its big comeback.
When I came in, I wanted to cry because it was just like, wow, we were able to bring it back to life and, for new opportunities for all of the creatives in Grand Bahama. Please come on out anytime. We have our monthly meetings.
The love for the Regency Theater is so strong that it brought guests in from Nassau, including former Freeport Players Guild President Olivia Dorsett.
I could not miss this opening. I am just so happy to see the arts come back to life here in Grand Bahama. So many people are going to benefit from this theater opening back up, and I'm just so happy that we got the community support as well as from other businesses to help us reopen these doors.
And just before we go, not only can you find 1 hour of our live news coverage now starting at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, But the Our News website has been launched as well. You can find it at ournews.bs. One of the features on this website is the editorial column, As I See It, written by 30-year veteran journalist Tanya Smith-Cartwright. Tanya is also a producer here at Our News with oversight of the On the Record Current Affairs show, hosted by Jerome Sawyer, Our News Weekend Edition, and live coverage of major local events. You can read the hard-hitting As I See It on ournews.bs each Monday, but on Tuesday this week due to the holiday. The topic for this week is There is One Leader of the F&M. Can't wait to read it, Tanya. Thank you for joining us for Our News Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Marlena Leonard. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend.